Hello and welcome to our weekly weigh-in. It's Sunday, November 2nd, 2025, and we are the Downsized. My name's Laraine Durham. I'm here with my husband, Christopher Durham, and this is the channel where we talk about all things GLP-1 weight loss related. In this show, our weekly weigh-in, we talk about how our week went and we answer questions from our viewers. If you haven't already, I hope that you will subscribe to The Downsized and hit the like button. That tells YouTube that you like us. Go figure.
Go figure.
We are not doctors. We're just a husband and wife that have both lost weight with GLP-1 medications. We liked it so well, we decided we wanted to tell everybody about it, and so that is what we do. So we hope you'll come along with us. We produce GLP-1 content every day. So make sure you hit that notification bell so you can be the first to check out our content every day.
Will you set today's date right? It's November now?
It's November. It's November 2nd, 2025.
Sure is flying by.
It is. It is flying by.
As Laraine said, this is our weekly weigh-ins. We tell you about what's going on in our lives, and then we weigh in on your questions. We'll start out with telling you what we weighed. People always ask, well, why do you keep telling us what we weighed? Because it's life. We do this every day. We do this every week.
This is our lifestyle now. So we continue to take our shot every week. We take our shots with us when we travel. We take a travel scale with us when we travel. When we're home, I weigh myself every day. I weighed myself this morning. Spoiler alert, I'm up a little bit. So we'll talk about that
it's interesting
in a minute.
Because inevitably on this, somebody will comment, well, you're too focused on your weight. You should be measuring other things.
Have you met me?
Right. And to be honest, I don't think about weight every day. It's not.
Oh, I do.
I think about weight when we do this and I get up and weigh myself, but it's not like this constant nagging thing in the back of my head.
He hasn't been brainwashed by
No,
40 years of diet culture like I have. So anyway, all right, well, let's talk about our weight. Would you like to go first?
Oh, sure. Unfortunately, I lost my prior spreadsheet. It was blue, if you remember, but I can look at it on my.
He doesn't have a spreadsheet.
Dude,
For those of you that are just joining us for the first time today. Christopher is not a spreadsheet person. I am 100% a spreadsheet person. So please continue.
Fortunately, I weigh every day, so I have it goes to my app, so I have an accurate number on my app, so I can go back and look at everything. It's all there. No, hers has a lot more data, but it is life. We started together in September
29th, 2023. We say that every week. I don't know
and I still don't remember. 2023, I weighed 286.4 pounds. As of today, I weigh 187.2 pounds, which puts me at 99.2 pounds down. I think that's about
a couple pounds up.
Yeah, about 2 pounds. About 2 pounds up.
Yeah, because you were maintaining right at 100-pound loss, right?
Right. So, basically my center point is 185 pounds. So a few pounds up, a few pounds down. If you've been following along, we've been on a cruise ship for the last 9 days. So when we travel a little bit, it doesn't ever, I don't get too shocked if I'm 2 pounds up. I take my shot. It'll come back off. Mm-hmm. It's really not that big deal.
Not a big deal.
I'm on a 15 milligram dose and have been for more than 50 weeks now. It still seems to work just fine for me. I don't have any plans of going up or down. I take Tirzepatide. Sometimes I take Zepbound. Sometimes I have had a prescription for Mounjaro in the past. They've all worked the same for me. How about you?
All right. Well, as Christopher said, we were on a cruise. We just got home Friday. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seemed like we were gone forever. We've been gone on longer trips before, but this one just, I don't know, it seemed really long to me, and I was just kind of ready to be home by the time that we did get home. So I did weigh myself. We take a travel scale, and I weighed myself on that. And then I did not weigh myself. We got home Friday. I didn't weigh myself on Saturday because I just, I don't know. Some people say the day after you fly, maybe don't weigh yourself because of fluctuations. And I kind of knew I was up a little bit, so I thought I'll give it another day. So I weighed myself this morning. My starting weight was 193 pounds. I'm a 5'5", 56 Yes, 56-year-old mother of 3 grown children who are 19, 21, and 27 years old. And today my weight was 146. So that's the highest I've been in a while. That crept up about 2 pounds from my previous pre-cruise weight. So that's 47 pounds down. I like to be at 50 pounds down, which would be 143. So I'd like to drop a couple of those pounds, especially, thinking about the holidays and coming up, and we'll be surrounded by a lot of food choices. Friday was Halloween, so we did give some treats out to the trick-or-treaters. We don't get a lot of trick-or-treaters at our house. I had a bowl that had goldfish crackers, special goldfish Halloween, little individual prepackaged goldfish snacks. And then I also had 3 other types of chocolate candy. I won't say the name, lest anyone be triggered by naming the candy. But they were things I liked, but not my favorites. Okay. So, and I'm telling you, every kid that came to the door, I let the kids pick. Sometimes in years past, I would just dole them out to each bag. But this year I let the kids pick, and they picked those goldfish crackers every single time until they were gone. And if I told them they could pick 2, like toward the end of the night when I knew I wasn't going to run out of candy, they'd take the goldfish first and then a chocolate candy. And so, kids are funny, right? Kids like all kinds of things, and we can give out things at Halloween that, aren't necessarily things that are going to tempt us. But I do like to give out. I always like to give out candy on Halloween, so that was fine. I did eat some of the candy. I did not open the bags of candy until the afternoon of Halloween, mostly because we had been traveling.
We weren't here.
But I did buy the candy before we left for our cruise. So when we got home on Halloween, I opened the bag of candy, and I did eat a couple pieces. And then as the night went on, I did eat a few more pieces, and it was fine. But in years past, I would have eaten the whole bag prior to Halloween and then have to buy more. Or one year, I was looking back at my Facebook memories. One year I asked you to hide the candy from me somewhere in the house. So he hid it, and then
Then she got mad.
And then I was mad. Where is it? Tell me where the candy is. He said, you told me not to tell you. So, I've gone through all kinds of tricks on how to avoid the candy. So there were a few pieces left over. I put them in a Ziploc bag and I hid them somewhere in the house. So if we don't see them, then we don't think about them. But, maybe.
I don't think about them anyway.
I mean, or you could just throw it away. It's fine. Or you could give it away. There's a lot of places that take extra candy. So if you're sitting at home with extra candy, you could always donate it. There's a couple of places that will take it. You can Google a place near you. I've also thrown candy away in years past. I remember the kids would come back with just gobs of candy.
Yeah.
And they'd be at school, and I'd just throw a handful away every day. And they never knew because they didn't care. Okay. So that brings us to today.
So questions.
I guess we can talk about some questions. Yeah, questions.
I'm not sure what you were pausing on.
Well, I was just reflecting on, being 2 pounds up and what my plan is for this week. Oh, we are going to be traveling again on Monday. Well, that's tomorrow, because we're going to a conference in Atlanta called ObesityWeek. Did you want to talk about that?
Sure, go for it.
So, what a terrible name for a conference, right? ObesityWeek.
Why do you think that's a terrible name?
Because I hate the word obesity. I
did a whole video on renaming obesity, but as of right now, that's the medical term. Why do you hate the medical term?
I just feel like I don't want to be called obese. And now we don't call people obese, right? We say they have obesity. We don't call somebody cancer. We say they have cancer. Obesity is recognized by the American Medical Association as a chronic progressive disease, right? So we're managing our disease of obesity by taking these GLP-1 medications. So, thinking about traveling and all that stuff, I'm going to have to really kind of reel it in a little bit. Because a lot of times when we're on a cruise, I let myself have, a dessert or maybe a cocktail, or maybe, we just eat a little bit more than usual. So I got up this morning. We actually went by the grocery store yesterday because I'm like, we have no food in the house. And so
yeah, she said, "Are you cooking dinner?" I said, "Then we have to go to the store. We haven't shopped in 10 days.
Yeah. Well, and it was 4:00. So I was like, are you planning on cooking tonight, or are we going to be eating out again? Because I really need some home cooked
Yeah,
regular.
Fine. I just needed food.
Yeah. What did you make? You made chicken.
Yeah,
and
oven roasted chicken.
green beans. Well, those green beans were really good. Sometimes he just steams them, but these he took fresh green beans and put them in a pot with some chicken broth and mushrooms.
Yeah, kind of old school.
Old school like your grandma makes
soft
on
cooked
Sunday.
green beans. Sometimes I
Not
like
my
that.
grandma.
Sometimes I like them steamed and
People's
crispy.
grandmas.
But
Yeah. So anyway, we had that, and you also made a box of stuffing, which I think you got in a moment of weakness at the grocery store.
because that's one of my most favorite things ever. So yeah, we eat carbs sometimes. Yeah. I think the last time I cooked stuffing
Was Thanksgiving last year.
it might have been Christmas last year, but it's been a long time.
So anyway, and
I have a little bit. It's fine.
It was good. So we had that for dinner last night, and then when we were on the cruise, they had the most beautiful cut up fruit every day. We were on 2 different cruise ships, and one cruise ship on the main buffet, they would have, bowls of cut up fruit you could just take, or they'd have big pieces of fruit that you could take and cut up yourself. On the second cruise ship that we were on, the cut up fruit was only they had a children's separate buffet. So they had these look like cocktail glasses of fruit on the children's buffet. So I would get one of those every day. And that fruit just tasted so good to me. I was like, I guess I haven't really been eating a lot of fruit. When you're on a GLP-1, you can't fit a lot of food in your stomach. I've been focusing on protein. So now that I'm in maintenance, I've been trying to work some other things back into my diet that are good for me, like fruit. And I was like, wow, this really tastes good. Because a couple things I would pick up and get on the cruise ship, I'm like, this does not taste good. I'm not finishing it. This does not taste good. I'm not finishing it. But the fruit was I don't know. It just... I was really into it, so I got it every day. So when we were at the grocery store, they had in the deli section, sometimes they have containers of cut up fruit that you could buy for a premium price. And I was just like, instead of me buying all these pieces of fruit and having my home chef cut them up for me, let me just buy the big bowl of fruit. So I bought the big bowl of fruit. And this morning for breakfast, I also got some of the 20 grams of protein Greek yogurt. I think it's Chobani makes that. So I had a vanilla, 20 grams of protein yogurt. I put some of the fruit in there. And then I had my coffee with a little bit of protein shake in my coffee. And right there, 30 grams of protein breakfast. So I feel really good. And I put it into my Me Again app. I tracked all those things because I'm gonna be better about tracking this week, especially while traveling, just to keep myself honest and to kind of, steer the ship back where it needs to go.
That was a lot.
Well, what do you do?
Sometimes I just wait for her to come up for air.
What do you do, really? When you've gone on vacation, or maybe something, you're not able to be on your regular, plan, and maybe you're up a few pounds. How do you, get right back on it? So I'm, start with a high protein breakfast. I need to get right back on it. I also need to be better with my water, because while I was doing okay with the water on the cruise ship, I wasn't doing great. So, when I weighed myself on my Hume Body Pod this morning, it said my water level was good. It was fine. So that was good to see. So I just have to get a little bit better with that.
Why do you think you weren't good with your water? You were drinking water all the time.
Well, we didn't get the drink package this time. So I couldn't get the free bottles of water, and sometimes I have water delivered to our stateroom, but each of these cruises were 4-night cruises. So it seemed silly to get a 24 pack of 32-ounce bottles of water delivered to the stateroom. So, and I took my cup and all these on the cruise ship, I used to just take my cup and fill it up at the water stations at the buffet. They have all these signs that say, don't fill your cups up here. Don't fill your big, Yetis up here. And I was like, well, where am I supposed to fill them up? So I was filling one of the
And you
buffet.
followed the rules on that? Why?
I did.
I would have just used it.
Well,
What are they going to
I'm
do?
a rule follower, right? So
Oh, no.
I was just taking a cup from the buffet and filling it with water and then dumping it into my bigger water.
You're taking that 5-ounce cup from the buffet.
Well, and then I was like, why am I doing this? Because nobody else was doing it. I was at the pizza place. The pizza place was in the main, what do they call that, promenade of the ship. And there was a water station at the pizza place, or maybe it was the coffee place. So I went to fill up my water, and this guy walks up right in front of me. Okay. Well, he takes his big giant Yeti bottle of water and just fills it right there, right where it says, do not fill up your bottle. And I'm like, why am I the only one following the rules?
I don't know. It seemed like a silly rule to me.
Anyway, I don't know. I felt like I wasn't keeping up with it, but I think I kept up with it fine.
I felt like you were drinking water all the time. And obviously your human buddy pod says you were.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess
Science.
so.
It's sciencing.
Science! All right, well, let's get to enough about me yammering on about, let's take some questions from our viewers. Now, these questions came from comments that people left on our maybe last videos or last week's videos. Last week's videos.
Actually, a couple of them may have come from older videos, but they just made the comments.
Right.
So if you want to ask a question, leave a question under this video. Make sure you use a question mark. That way when I search using YouTube has a question function, so it'll sort all the questions out for me so we can make sure we get to your question as well. We do this every week, and that's why it's called the weigh-in, because we're weighing in on your questions. From Lori909, she says, what do you think about Tirzepatide versus Zepbound? I have nausea and malaise with Tirzepatide, so I haven't taken it in over a month. I did lose 30 pounds on it, but felt bad a lot of the time. Well, Lori...
They're the same thing.
Yep, they're the same thing. So Zepbound's active ingredient API is Tirzepatide. So if you've been taking a compounded version of Tirzepatide, we're not doctors, not molecular biologists. I have taken compounded Tirzepatide, Zepbound, and Mounjaro. They've all worked the same for me because they all have the same active ingredient. In fact, in some of the recent court cases, the judge actually called Lilly out on that conversation and said, it's all the same thing, whatever. It should work the same way. There shouldn't, I haven't had any difference whatsoever in weight loss and side effects at all, but your mileage may vary.
And all of my shots have been compounded Tirzepatide except for maybe 2. So this is week 107 of our journey. So I've taken over 107 shots, and probably 105 of those have been compounded Tirzepatide.
Yep. Now, if you're having nausea and malaise, you haven't taken it in a month, please talk to your prescriber. So talk to them about your titration and your dosing. Perhaps there's something they can adjust. Malaise is that sort of dull feeling, right? And a lot of people get that with Tirzepatide, particularly on the early months of it. That's just something that you have to work through. Nausea, they can write you prescriptions for, or there's remedies like ginger chews, or I like a diet ginger ale personally. There's remedies out there, but those are the same medications. They should not do anything differently.
Well, and I don't know what dose she was taking, but
it's hard to say.
Maybe her dose was too high. Maybe you need to adjust your dose down, and that's something to ask your doctor about. Let me get my glasses out. This is from Michelle Silva, 9491. Why is it $4.99 at pharmacies, but online teledoctors giving it for $150 to $199? Is it not the real thing, or what?
So this was in response to the Zepbound at Walmart. So Eli Lilly, which is the manufacturer of Zepbound and Mounjaro, which holds the patents on Tirzepatide, sells it branded. So it's the brand Zepbound, the brand Mounjaro Zepbound for obesity, Mounjaro for type 2 diabetes. And those prices are $499 from Walmart in the vials if you're paying cash direct.
LillyDirect fulfilled by Walmart.
Right, correct. So the $150 to $199 price is on what's called compounded Tirzepatide, which comes from a compounding pharmacy, typically through a telehealth company. And they're making basically the same drug, but they're doing it customized for your needs. So maybe you need a different dosing, maybe you need something, a vitamin in it, but they're doing, so it should be the same active ingredient, the same API, but they're able to do it in a much less expensive way because they don't have all the overhead and they don't have all the marketing. You know, Lilly's out there spending millions of dollars on marketing.
So I've used Mochi Health for my telehealth doctor and to get my compounded Tirzepatide. If you're interested in starting with Mochi Health, you can click my link. It's in the description, and you can use my code for $40 off your first order. It's QIYG, the letter O, and 8. But
to answer the question, yes, it's all the drug. It, however, is not the brand, so it doesn't say the name on the outside of it. Zepbound.
Right.
This is a good one for you.
This is from Tony Anthony 8193. I'm on Mounjaro and started 5 weeks ago and with good results, but my toilet seat is upset because I haven't come by lately.
Tony's a funny guy.
Hilarious. What can I do to make my toilet seat happy? I've tried stool softeners and laxatives. Any suggestions to make my toilet seat happy? Well, you know, first of all, probably ask your doctor what's best for you. My doctor recommended Miralax, and I also found something called Mag-07, which is a magnesium supplement. And if you're interested in looking at the Mag-07, we've got a link to our Amazon store below, and it's in our Amazon store. There's a lot of different over-the-counter remedies for constipation. I interviewed a dietitian a few weeks ago, Gianna Beasley, and she mentioned in her book that kiwi fruit is good for constipation. So that's one reason why I've been trying to eat more fruit, and because I just have to stay on top of this all the time. I also take fiber gummies, some sugar-free fiber gummies. I take 2 of those a day. I didn't take them with me when we traveled because they're kind of bulky and hard to travel with, but when we're at home I do take them, and they're in the Amazon store as well.
And I don't suffer from constipation, so I don't take anything. At King LP asks, quick question, and I think you touched on this, but I'm a little confused. This was in reference to the Zepbound vial video at Walmart. Can you walk into a Walmart pharmacy with a vial showing your script and get on LillyDirect, or do you have to have your doctor send it to LillyDirect and then you can choose to pick it up at Walmart? I'm just trying to see if I can dodge the subscription fees, being that the meds are so pricey. So in order to get it from Walmart, you have to do the second thing you said. So you have to have your doctor send the prescription to LillyDirect. You pay for it on LillyDirect. All the same rules and regulations that have always been on LillyDirect are still there. The only difference is at the end of the process, you can select delivered to my home or you can pick it up at Walmart. The only difference. Now, I'm not really sure. You say you're trying to dodge subscription fees, being that the meds are so pricey. There's no subscription fees on LillyDirect, so I'm not sure what you're referring to there. Yeah, but no, you can't just walk in Walmart and get it.
And that's and the lower doses. The first starting dose is $3.49, and then all the rest of the doses are $4.99, provided that you refill every 45 days.
On the upper doses, yeah.
I don't use that.
Next question from NKN433 says, I would love to go on this cruise. I would love to meet others that are going through the same thing. Where do I find out more? Easy answer. Go to the downsized.org. You'll see a cruise button, and actually there's a big picture of a cruise ship and Laraine and I there. You can click on it. It'll take you to the page. It'll tell you more about the cruise. It'll also give you the information to contact our travel agents, Kelly and Roberta, and reach out to them, and they can work with you on pricing and rooms and all of that. Yep. Basically, think of it like GLP-1 summer camp at sea, and we'll show up, and I think it absolutely is. We'll show up, we'll do meetups, we'll probably do some panel discussions. You can line dance with Laraine. There's all kinds of fun stuff. We'll eat dinner every night together. So there's all kinds of fun stuff that will happen on the cruise. But if you go to our website, you can check it out and get more information.
Our website is thedownsized.org. Okay, this one comes from Alexandra Norton, 1656. I'm wondering if you had a lot of hair shedding. Not really. Mine has started to concern me. I'm losing at a fairly slow rate, so I don't think I need to go slower. I'm just wondering what is happening with other people and what they're doing about it. I would first take a look at your nutrition. Are you eating enough? Are you taking a multivitamin? Are you getting, enough minerals? And, because all that affects your hair growth, right? I've lost some hair during the weight loss phase. When I went into maintenance, it started to come back a little bit. Also, I don't know, I'm 56, so my hair is just going to get a little bit thinner naturally. My hairdresser recommended Nutrafol. You can ask your doctor about what's right for you. I would also, say you need to be very gentle on your hair. Get a better shampoo. I like the Nexus shampoos. Use a detangling comb. Don't brush your hair when it's wet. Sleep on a satin pillowcase. Like, there's a lot of things you can do to just be gentler on your hair while you're going through this phase. But usually anytime you lose weight and drop your calories so drastically, you're gonna have this issue. So it's not just a function of the GLP-1, it's a function of the weight loss in general. And it really has a lot to do with your nutrition.
Next question from Carla Hammonds. Do you know if you will be able to get more than a month's supply? So referring to the Zepbound at Walmart again. Lots of questions around that.
Can't.
So the rules will be exactly the same as LillyDirect has always been. Lilly does not want to sell you more than a month's supply. They want you to keep buying every 45 days. They don't want you to split doses. They want you to do it exactly as prescribed. So no, they're not going to sell any more stuff. Let's see here. P.S. Lawing, she just answered your question about hair loss as well. All right, so here's a fun one that I'm from DG3109. How would someone travel with their GLP-1 if they have no fridge and will be gone 35 days on a walking trip? Any information would be helpful.
Anyway, okay, what would I say to that? Now, let's see.
Well, first of all, we don't know whether you're taking the branded pens or
the
vials. Honestly, I think the branded pens would be easier to travel like this with. Because
6 of 1, half dozen of them.
If I were doing it, I would want to travel with the pens. I think the way the pens are manufactured, they're sealed better. If you go read Eli Lilly or Novo Nordisk stuff, basically as long as you keep it at a reasonable temperature level.
Mm-hmm. I think it's under 80 degrees. So you don't want it to be at freezing and you don't want it to go above 80 degrees, but you can keep your Zepbound or Tirzepatide out of the refrigerator for up to 28 days, I think is what all the information that comes with the medicine states. So if you're going to be gone for 35 days, maybe you take your shot before you leave, and then you've got, 28 days of, to sit in it. I would put it in a travel case. We have a couple travel cases on our website, on our Amazon store. The link's in the description. If you're traveling with a vial, you'll also need to bring your needles and your wipes. I would put it in cool packs just to, just for good measure starting out. Now, 35 days later, those cool packs are not going to be cool anymore. But if you're, I don't know if you're going to be in a place that's going to be hot. So if it's going to be above 80 degrees at the end of that trip, it might be something to consider.
But the reason you're using one of these travel cases is because you're trying to keep that temperature at basically just that middle range, right? You don't want it to get too hot. You don't want it to get too cold.
Yeah, but those ice packs aren't going to last more than...
No, but it's still insulated. It should protect it.
I think you would be fine with that. I would just get a travel case, put everything in the travel case, take your shot before you go so you have that kind of lead time.
And I would just make sure whichever travel case you use has some impact protection. Right, because you're walking, I assume you have a backpack or you have something else. You don't want to drop that and break things. Maybe even wrap it up a little bit. I would just protect them as much as you possibly can. Wanda Copper, UD6346 says, when do you stop taking the shots, or is it a lifetime thing? How do you stop? Do most people gain the weight back after stopping?
For me, it's a lifetime thing. For others, they may be able to come off of it. How do you stop? I haven't stopped. I'm not a doctor. I'm not here to tell you how to do that. You need to work with your doctor on that. Do most people gain the weight back after stopping? That's what I've heard. I think the more and more that I hear, and we do news stories and we hear people talking about it, I think people with the disease of obesity who have struggled with it for their whole life, like me, if I go off of it, well, I know what that struggle was from age 10 to age 54, like that was always a struggle. So if this medication doesn't cure obesity, it's a treatment for obesity. So if I stop taking the treatment, the weight will come back, right? I absolutely know that. It's just something I'm going to have to take to maintain my weight, and I'm fine with that. I think for other people that gained weight due to an accident or a trauma or menopause or something like that, or medication that caused them to gain weight and now they can't get it back off, I think a GLP-1 could help them get that under control, and then maybe they might be able to go off of it and step down at some point. So that's really something that you have to work with your doctor on and see what works for you.
Here's the thing. These medications are designed to treat the disease of obesity. They do not cure the disease of obesity.
I see that.
And your weight is really just a symptom of that disease. So even if your weight goes down, you still have that disease.
Right. I've always had it. I
Doesn't
always
go
will
away.
have it.
So if you look
Yeah.
at the trials, essentially about 80% of people on the trials, when they started to pull them off, had to continue the medication, or they gained significant amounts of weight back. It just kind of is what it is. But, talk to your doctor, and you can always test it and try. And good thing about the medication is it's there. So if you need to come back and you need that tool again, you can use it.
That's a good point. Right. If you come off of it, start gaining, you could always start back on it again.
All right. Next question from Crystal Blue Persuasion 7556. Have you heard about any planned longitudinal studies about GLP-1 use? I'm getting really tired of watching YouTube videos where a doctor says, don't expect to lose more than 20% of your starting weight. I think they say that because that is what the original Surmount studies results were, but I see plenty of videos with people who have lost more than that. Take Christopher, for example. I've lost 38%. To hear you are only going to lose 20% of your weight from the doctor is depressing when you want to lose more than that. However, I know the doctors need data to back up what they tell their patients so as not to give them false hope. So to my knowledge, there's no longitudinal studies out there. And the challenge is, even if there were, the doctors are still only statistically going to use the numbers from the research. Just because I reacted that way or Laraine reacted that way does not mean you're going to react that way. You could lose more, you could lose less. Those research studies still would not really give you any metadata. I mean, they might say 10% lose this much, 20% lose this much. That data is actually in the Surmount studies if the doctors dive in deeper. Most are going to know you lose 16% on this, you lose 20% on that. Remember, those aren't stopping numbers, so there's no magic place you get to and all of a sudden you get to 20% and your body just goes, nope, can't do it anymore.
Yeah, no, you'll most likely just keep going, right? And don't be discouraged if you have a lot of weight to lose and you're looking at, oh, well, I could only lose 20%. Well, 20% is a significant amount of weight, and that could really change a lot of your health markers. So I think people get overwhelmed when they have 100 pounds, 200 pounds or more to lose. But let me tell you, we have talked to several people through our YouTube and through personal meeting that have lost 100 pounds, 200 pounds, half their body weight. So we do see people that have been able to achieve that. So I don't want you to be discouraged if you have a lot of weight to lose. And it's going to take time, right? This is not a quick fix. This is, an average of a half a pound a week, a pound to 2 pounds a week. That's the average weight loss. My average weight loss was 1.58 pounds per week. So, you just keep going and it adds up over time. The time's going to go by anyway, right? So if you're really looking at this medication, you think, 20%, well, that's not even worth it. I shouldn't even try. My advice to you is if your doctor has prescribed it for you, start on it. Start today, take the shot, and just get on this journey. It's your life. I hope it can work for you and help your health, what I mean?
Question from Johnny.
All right, Johnny, whoops, Johnny M, 4017. Did y'all ever do that? Johnny, whoops, Johnny, whoops, Johnny.
No,
okay. I have both the Renfro scale and the Hume Body Pod. The Renfro weighs me a pound or so heavier than the pod. This is the reverse for me. My Body Pod weighs me a pound heavier than my Renfro. Anyway, since you have both devices, have you experienced a similar disparity? Yeah, they're about a pound difference. Who cares, right? It doesn't matter. It just matters. Pick one device and weigh yourself on it every day. And then, don't have two scales side by side in the bathroom. That's silly. Pick the one you're going to go with and use it every day or as often as you want to weigh yourself.
The reality is if you had 5 Renfos, they would probably all weigh slightly different. Or every scale is going to be calibrated slightly different. So the odds of you hitting exactly the same on every device are pretty slim, to a point of even when we went to get our DexaFit, the guy said, I'm going to write in your chart which DexaFit you're using, because he was at our DexaScan. He was actually putting another one in, and he said, because we want you to repeat on the same one so that you get similar numbers. So the 2 DEXA scans would have been slightly different even at that.
And I get it. I get it, the not wanting to be a pound different. Like our travel scale is a pound heavier than our home scale, which pisses me off, to be quite honest. But I know that, right? But still. And even when I used to go to Weight Watchers, they would have 2 scales, and they wanted you to like weigh on whichever one was free at the time. But I always wanted to weigh on the one I always weighed on. And they're like, but we calibrate them every week and they should be exactly the same. But, I want to weigh on the same scale every week. And, when you're really struggling to lose weight, like I did in Weight Watchers or I did with every other diet up until GLP-1s, a pound is significant, right? I don't want to see a scale tell me I'm a pound higher than what I'm used to seeing. So it's just kind of, once you start on these GLP-1s and you see your weight come down and it's not this big scary thing that it used to be, it's kind of, as someone who was traumatized by the scale for my whole life, I'm getting less traumatized by it now that I've been in maintenance for about 1.5 years. So.
And you've got that body pod, start exploring the other numbers. It's giving you a lot of data. Honestly, the weight is the least interesting data point on there.
Yeah, it talks about your muscle, it talks about your water. You can look at your, metabolic age.
There's like 30 things. It does all kinds of cool stuff.
So.
It's very cool. All right, from Beth Loves Dogs. I assume you do like dogs, Beth. She says, any advice on being freezing cold? I am on week 7 of Zepbound, and being cold is very new to me. I'm normally always hot. It's not hands and feet, it's my torso, arms, legs. Does this usually go away? I am eating all my calories a day and a balanced diet. We see I am sitting in my house with a jacket on.
Yeah, we're sat down to record. He's like, I'm cold. I think my thermostat is set on 70 degrees.
You're not that far along, so you're only 7 weeks in, but it's a combination of weight loss. So as you lose weight, you lose insulation, basically, as well as they impact the way you think, the dopamine in your brains and the things that are going on. So they actually will make you feel a little bit cold. It is a side effect. Mm-hmm. It has come and gone for me over the last...
You're always cold.
Yeah, I mean, basically I've just learned to adapt, and I wear sweaters and sweatshirts. And so sometimes my hands are very, very cold right now. If I weren't on camera, I would have gloves on.
Yesterday we were recording a video and I said I have to go run some hot water on my fingers because they are freezing. It's just, we just learned to adapt to it, really. I have a lot more sweaters than I used to have. I have jackets, I have gloves. Coming back from the cruise, I was like, I really don't want to go home because it's going to be cold and I'm just not ready to be cold again through the winter. So it's just a matter of, getting some items that are going to help you not be so cold all the time. Warmer clothes, sweaters, hand warmers, gloves.
It's just a thing.
Welcome to the GLP-1 world.
It is a side effect. Honestly, it's the easiest to manage side effect, right? It's not going to put you in the hospital or anything.
Yeah.
So
we were on the cruise ship. The first cruise ship, I was not cold on at all. The second cruise ship, I was like, oh, it's so cold in these common spaces. I hate when they make it so darn cold, and we're in the middle of the Caribbean.
And people are walking around in their shorts in there, so obviously it was...
Well, and we went from Miami where people walk around... It feels like in their underwear. If you've ever been in downtown Miami, like some people pass us by and I'm like, how do you walk around like that? Like they're wearing almost literally nothing or the very see-through things. It's a little shocking. So to go from that where it's so hot to something where I'm so cold, it's like, yeah, I like Miami because I'm always warm in Miami.
All right, you want that one from Linda.
She gonna make you move to Miami. All right, Linda Hook says, Maybe when you're at Obesity Week, you could do a doctor interview with a focus on type 2 diabetes or ask a few questions specifically about it during your doctor interviews. Maybe why GLP-1s are being used for type 2 diabetes and what to expect when using one as a type 2 diabetic. Just general stuff and an overview. I realize you aren't doctors and it doesn't have to go too deep, but I don't see a lot of type 2 diabetes GLP-1 content that's easily accessible or easily understandable. All right, yeah, we can definitely be on the lookout for that. We're not type 2 diabetics, so we just don't, that's just not our focus on that, but we do have a lot of viewers who do have type 2 diabetes, so we try to be sensitive to that, and when we come across stories like that, we always try to include them.
Yep. And to level set though, at Obesity Week, what we'll be doing primarily is speaking to scientists and researchers who are presenting about something. So whatever their topic is, and it might be type 2 but diabetes, it might be adolescents, it might be whatever. We'll be discussing that because they're going to deliver their research to their peers, to thousands of people, and our goal is to get them to sit down with us and tell us about their research in a more patient-centered way, such that we say, how does this impact you?
Right. Because Obesity Week is not patient-focused at all. It's really doctors talking to other doctors about their research. And it's we're going there really to be able to talk to people who are doing the research on these GLP-1s and who are presenting these papers. There won't be a lot of people on GLP-1s just walking around, like that's not what this is. So, and we're not really going to be able to pick topics. I mean, whatever they're presenting on is going to be what we'll be asking them about. So
hopefully there's a lot of, there is probably 300 presentations at this conference. So there are ones on type 2 diabetes, but I started asking people months ago, and it's how do we get things? And we'll go to their presentations, and I'll stand at the end and go, hey, would you like to come over and do an interview with us? So we'll do our best.
Well, and a lot of these topics, and we've been able to read through the list of topics, and I can go sit in on some of these presentations if we want. We've paid for a conference badge or whatever, and we have a booth at the trade show part, so people will walk by and see us, and hopefully, also talk to us when they come by. But there's a lot of very interesting topics that, it's all about obesity, right? It's all about everything I've been talking about on the past 2 years on this journey, everything I've been living my life and trying out to battle this disease of obesity for my whole life. So it's a lot of topics that I'm very interested in, and I'm very excited to be able to go and learn new stuff about my favorite topic. So
and we will have our favorite microbiologist, Condi Carmack, with us, who, if you guys have seen any of the videos, Condi's probably the most educated person I've ever met on this stuff. So he'll be with us, and actually he's sharing a booth with us. He and his partner Rocky. He worked for some of the major manufacturers. He's retired now, but he worked for the major manufacturer, and he brings a level of scientific expertise that we simply do not have.
Because we're not.
And when you start reading through some of these presentations, there's a lot of
technical.
I don't understand them, right? So that's when I look at Condi and go, dumb it down, tell it to me like I'm in third grade, right?
Well, there's a lot of statistical analysis, and I took statistics in college in 1989. This is not our wheelhouse. So yeah, Connie will be able to hopefully translate a lot of stuff for us.
All right, from Diane Hughes, in response to my 70% of Americans have obesity, so the changing numbers on obesity and how it's measured video that just came out. She says, great video, Chris. Tirzepatide can solve so many addiction problems. How long before it becomes available? Keep fighting for all of us. So obviously Tirzepatide, Zepbound, Mounjaro is available on the market today, and there are many doctors out there writing it for a lot of off-label uses. All of the research that's being done on addiction is still in phase 2, phase 3, and I would guess they'll start filing for uses in the next year on a few of them. Lilly has actively said, and Novo both are actively trying to get it approved for as many things as possible because they want insurance to pay for as many of these things as possible. So we will see more of it being approved that way in the next year, and then hopefully insurance would follow. But
so
it's
things
going to
like
be a rollout.
alcohol use disorder.
Yep.
I've seen, smoking maybe helps with stop smoking kind of thing. So
Yeah.
it's good for a lot of things, apparently.
All right, here's a long one from Pastor Todd, 1964. I was born in 68. I assume
Would you like me to read this
a few years older than I am. Yeah, sure.
Pastor Todd, 1964. Okay, so this is a long one, and we're going to have a lot to say about it. So go ahead and hit the like button. Okay. Does it make people feel better to say obesity is a disease? I am fat, and much of it has to do with my own choices. We make everything so politically correct, and we are all victims. It is not our fault. As my fit grandma used to say, quote, put the fork down and push yourself away from the table, end quote. I love this channel, don't get me wrong, but just because a government agency or affiliate calls something a disease doesn't change the fact that we are fat, exclamation point. I can take Tirzepatide all day at the end of the day, but at the end of the day, I still have to put in, and he quotes, the work. All right, there's a lot to unpack here. Do you want to go first?
I do. So it's interesting. So the reason we call obesity a disease is because the science and the medicine says it's a disease. It has absolutely nothing to do with being politically correct. Call me fat. I call myself fat all the time. It's not a big deal. Is it impolite sometimes? Sure. My grandfather said, be polite, so don't call people fat. But it has absolutely nothing to do with being politically correct. It has to do with science. And science has pointed to, and I'm working on an entire script for a long video, that there's about 22 things that contribute to obesity being a disease. And that'll be a long video, and I'm still working through all of it. But obesity being a disease is important, not because it makes me feel better about myself. No, it has nothing to do with it. It has zippo to do with it. It has to do with because when obesity is a disease and it's treated as such, we get the appropriate medical care for the medical problem that we have. We get the appropriate funding. We get the appropriate insurance. If it's not a disease and it's just you being fat because you're lazy and you ate too much food, nobody wants to help you. There's no insurance. There's no research. It's just you being lazy. Well, the reality of it is, you being lazy probably had nothing to do with it. You having a moral failing probably had nothing to do with it. Now, that does not absolve you of personal responsibility at all. You and I can still hurt ourselves if we choose to. I can choose to sit down and eat all of the Halloween
candy.
That doesn't absolve you of any of those things. You absolutely still have to put in the work, and saying obesity is a disease does not absolve you of that. It does, however, say that with these GLP-1s, many of us have deficiencies in GLP-1s, that when those GLP-1 deficiencies are solved for, your mind changes. So right now, you may well be obese because obesity is making you eat. The disease is making you eat. Your body is saying, the world is coming to an end. I need to fuel up. I need to survive. And it doesn't ever get that trigger that turns things off.
Right. What was it they said at the conference we went to this past summer? Overeating does not cause obesity. Obesity, the disease of obesity, causes overeating. So, did I say that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't think anyone, at age 10, I didn't wake up and say, I'm going to eat everything in the house because I want to. And especially when you see childhood obesity, where the parents are controlling the child's food, when the parents are pushing the child to exercise and the child is still overweight or has obesity, that says something,
it's
right?
It's not a personal failing.
It's not, you wouldn't blame the child for that. And as we become adults, that's still there. I still had this drive pushing me to eat, looking for food all the time, thinking constantly about the food, interruptions in my day at work because I had to go get a snack right then. Like, that's not how someone without the disease of obesity thinks. It's just not. And it's very hard to explain to a naturally thin person how your brain works when you have this disease of obesity because they've never experienced it, and it's very hard to explain. So it is a disease. I mean, multiple medical organizations have called it that, including the American Medical Association. It's not just some,
What's
thing
interesting
we
is
picked
when
up
you
along the
layer
way.
in, so you've got the brain piece of it, right? When you layer in the metabolic piece of it, that child who is overweight, whose parents have been completely controlling everything, so they had no access to food beyond what their parents did. And there's a lot of them out there. We meet them every day. Their body metabolically is retaining weight. It is a metabolic problem. This is a metabolic disease. These medications help solve for that metabolic problem. Doesn't cure it, it's a treatment for it. But when you see people like Lorraine's sister, you meet them, they look very, very similar today, but her sister has always been thin. Lorraine's always been on the heavier side. Grew up the same way, same food, same parents, same environment,
Same swim
everything.
team, same sports. You know what I mean? Like, why was she skinny and why was I chunky? I obviously wanted to be skinny like my sister and thin like my parents, and they couldn't understand why. Let's do more sports. Let's push her to do more things. Let's take her to Weight Watchers. Let's send her to Weight Watchers camp. Like, none of those things worked long term. So I 100% believe that obesity is a disease, and it doesn't really matter if I believe it or not, because it is. So,
well, I certainly encourage you to be more compassionate with folks who are overweight. It sounds like you have the same issue with folks who have the disease of obesity. I also encourage you to dive into the science, because the science is real and it's absolutely there. But are you standing there looking at every fat person in line going, you have sinned and you have moral failing and you have chosen to be fat on a daily basis? Because I can promise you,
nobody chooses.
if you dive into that person's life, you're going to all of a sudden discover that they have been fighting this disease for the vast majority of their life and losing every time until these medications come along. Okay, this is the medical treatment of the disease of obesity, and we will continue to say it. So you certainly don't have to agree, but the science is on our side.
And we get comments like this every once in a while where people don't really understand or haven't read it for themselves, where obesity is a disease and it's not our fault, right? So that's why we keep saying it. That's why we encourage people to talk about taking a GLP-1. Now, you don't have to, right? It's your own personal private business. But I think the more that we can normalize taking a GLP-1, overcoming the stigma of, number one, having obesity, number two, taking a medical treatment for the disease of obesity. You'd never fault someone for taking a statin or blood pressure medication. Those are daily medications for the rest of people's lives, basically, right? So why would you fault someone for taking a medication for the disease of obesity? Like, that doesn't really make any sense when you think about it like that.
So combine the medical treatment of the disease of obesity. Today we're using GLP-1s with the actions. So yes, you have to put in the work. It does not absolve you of responsibility.
Right. Those candy bars are
Those
still in
two
my
things
pantry.
have to go hand in hand.
Yeah, I guess, the difference is on a GLP-1, I'm more in control of what I choose to eat. Before, it seemed my brain was driving me to eat anything and everything, and no matter what it was, whether it tasted good or bad, I was just going to keep eating it. So now I'm, thanks to the GLP-1, I can pick and choose, and if I pick something up on the buffet and I don't like it, I can not finish it. I don't have to eat it if it doesn't taste good. If I find something that tastes good, yeah, okay, well, I'll eat some of it, and I don't have to eat 20 servings of it. I can have one serving of it, and it's fine, and I can go on about my day and not dwell on it. You know what I mean? So
these medications give you the agency, the power over those things, over your genetics, over this disease, which is truly exciting. And we'll keep shouting from the rooftops. Right here on our channel, I think that's all our questions for this week.
Yeah, and just thinking about coming up on the holidays and Thanksgiving and the December holidays and New Year's and all of that stuff, when we started on a GLP-1, we started September 29th, 2 years ago, and I lost weight through the holidays on a GLP-1. That was crazy. That was mind-blowing to me right there. That right there told me that these things absolutely work. And I wasn't so sure it was going to work.
No, neither one of us were.
I'm like, you know what? I've tried everything else. Injections sounds extreme, but I'll try it. And lost weight every single week through the holidays. It is absolutely possible to take control of your health. Start right now. If you're thinking, oh, it's almost Thanksgiving and I'm just going to want to eat and I'll just gain 10 or 15 pounds and I'll start in January. Don't wait. If you have it in your refrigerator and you're wondering whether or not to take your shot, take your shot. Start right now. There is no reason to wait. I wrote a short ebook about GLP-1s through the holidays. It's in the description. It's on our Amazon store. It's just some little handy guidelines of things to say, things to eat, tips to help you manage the holidays, because it is entirely 100% possible to do.
Right. If you haven't already, please take a moment and hit like and subscribe. The great thing about hitting like and subscribe is every time we publish a video, if you hit that bell, it'll alert you. I'd also love for you to go to our website, thedownsized.org, sign up for our email list. It'll put you on our list. And we don't send out too many emails, maybe one a month or so, but you'll get alerted. And we have the option to contact you if we need to. Who knows what's going on with social media these days? There's always something crazy out there. You can also sign up to one of our meetups. So we'll actually be Monday night in Atlanta, Georgia, and we have a meetup there. You can RSVP for that. It's absolutely free. And then in the coming weeks, we'll be in Vegas and Chicago. Please come meet us. We'd love to say hello and get to know you.
Get to know me. What is that from?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Anyway, people tell us that they feel like they know us anyway when they meet us in person, and so I think that's neat.
So, and of course, check out the cruise. We'd love for you to come on the cruise, June 4th through the 8th, 2026, out of Miami, Florida, on the Royal Caribbean Freedom of the Seas.
So anyway, thanks for watching, and
that's it for us this week. My name is Christopher Durham.
I'm Laraine Durham.
And we are the Downsized.